What's up, everybody? It is Broken Havoc here, right here on the Broken Havoc podcast, here to review AEW Dynamite from September 8th, 2021, coming to us from Cincinnati, Ohio. Of course, this is Jon Moxley's hometown. He goes up against Minoru Suzuki. Of course, Minoru Suzuki faced off against Jon Moxley back at arguably AEW's best pay-per-view so far and their highest buy pay-per-view of all time. Tony Khan stated on Twitter that All Out did over 200,000 buys, which is huge for the company. Really huge for AEW. And yeah, pay-per-view still matters, even in 2021. But of course, this episode of Dynamite is coming off of the heels of arguably the greatest pay-per-view in the modern era, All Out. We saw the debut of Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, Ruby Soho. Of course, she's going to be facing Britt Baker for the AEW Women's World Championship. We got a tease of Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson on this show, which I'm excited to see. Most likely, we're probably going to be getting that match at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. And by the way, speaking of shows, I'm actually going to be attending Dynamite this Wednesday at the Prudential Center, which is going to be absolutely bonkers. I'm excited. It's my first non-WWE event. Not only that, it's my first AEW event. I was originally supposed to go to the Prudential Center show March 25th of 2020, but of course the pandemic hit, and we all know what happened there. Let me actually turn on a little bit this light because it's a little dark here. But yeah, that was Dynamite. I mean, Dynamite overall thoughts on this show. I thought this was a pretty good show. I wouldn't say it was the best show. Of course, the teases that we got are absolutely insane. Of course, we got possible teases of Bryan Danielson. Most likely, we're definitely going to be getting that match, Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. That is 100% going to be Bryan Danielson's first match in AEW, which I'm actually absolutely stoked to see. But we also got an announcement that Adam Cole, his first match in AEW, is going to be in New Jersey this coming Wednesday. So I'm dead-ass excited to see Adam Cole's first AEW match live at the Prudential Center. It's going to be freaking awesome, man. I'm definitely excited to see what happens. I do think that it's going to be a really good show because if you guys don't remember, the Prudential Center show was originally slated to be Blood and Guts. And, I remember when they made that announcement at Revolution in 2020, I was excited because it was AEW's version of War Games. But we all know what happened. We never got the match. Of course, we got Blood and Guts in Jacksonville this year. Hopefully, maybe if they go back to the Prudential Center next year, we will most likely get either a Blood and Guts show or maybe a special, maybe one of those quarterly shows, or maybe I'm probably far-fetching, but I'm rooting. Keep my fingers crossed for Revolution 2020 to be at the Prudential Center because we never got the Blood and Guts match. We should get something in return for that. That's just my opinion. But yeah, enough of me talking about the Prudential Center show. Which by the way, about that show, I'm probably going to be filming a vlog for that show, my very first vlog on the channel. So most likely, if I decide to do a vlog, be on the lookout for that on the channel. And yeah, that's that. And I will be coming to you guys with a review for the show as well. I'm going to be rewatching the show because, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to take notes while I'm at the show. I'm going to have a great time. But when I get back home, I'm going to be watching the show again and taking notes on the show match by match. This show started off with Malakai Black versus Dustin Rhodes. Of course, Malakai Black is on a tear with the entire Nightmare family. He annihilated guys like Cody Rhodes, which, by the way, he's going to be wrestling Cody Rhodes again in a rematch at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show in 2 weeks on Dynamite, which I'm excited to see. Not only that, he, of course, faced off against Brock Anderson, which he absolutely murdered. And then he faced off against Lee Johnson on Rampage, which Lee Johnson, put some offense in that match, but of course it ended up with Malakai Black getting the win. Malakai Black is on a tear, and I mean that in a good way. He's absolutely on a rampage, no pun intended. And, this match with Dustin Rhodes, it was pretty quick to start off the show, but I will say, it was a pretty good match. A couple notes on the match, of course. Dustin gets some offense in this match. He goes for repeated rights on the top of Malakai, of course, in the corner of the ring. Malakai with a kick to the back of the knee of Dustin. Then he hits a jumping knee strike by Malakai. We get a jumping knee strike by Malakai Black. Once we get a cover into near fall, Malakai then takes the boot of Cody in the match. He takes the boot of Cody that Cody took off basically, after, Malachi basically beat him. And he took that out of the ring and threw it to Dustin. And what happened after that is Dustin proceeds to get up, but then both exchange kicks, and then Dustin proceeds to get the advantage in the match, so he gets more offense in the match. We get a kick by Dustin in the corner, and then Dustin Rhodes proceeds to hit the single best move in the history of professional wrestling. He pulled a Petey Williams. He hit the Canadian Destroyer. We get a cover and a near fall. Then we got "You Still Got It" chants from the crowd in Cincinnati, so that was awesome to hear. Dustin picks Malachi up, but Malachi escapes. Then Dustin with a couple right hands in the corner. Dustin then tries to go for the running bulldog, but then Malachi Black escapes. Then he hits the spinning heel kick, a.k.a. the Black Mask. It didn't look like it connected to the head of Dustin when he hit it, but hey, it's still the spinning heel kick or the Black Mask, whatever you want to call it. I still call it the Black Mask from his time in the WWE, so I'm gonna from now on, I'm just gonna call it the Black Mask because that's what it basically is. But we get a cover, and Malachi Black wins the match. Again, they're telling the story that he's running through the entire Nightmare family, which, I like that. That's a really good story to tell, and it really builds Malachi Black to be this unstoppable killer. And I've stated this before in my other AEW reviews, both Dynamite and Rampage. It was really good to see. Of course, we're going to be getting the match with Cody Rhodes. Now, who do I think I should win that match in 2 weeks at the Grand Slam show? I mean, a lot of people are saying Cody Rhodes should get the win back, but I mean, it really does not matter. I mean, Malachi Black can still get the win, and Cody can still get some offense. And if you have a scenario in which Malachi wins, but Cody still gets some offense and make Cody look good, I don't mind that at all. But really, who knows what AEW is going to do? Because this is a scenario in which you're like, I honestly do not know who's going to win this match, and I honestly do not know what's going to happen when it comes to this match. But I'm excited to see. The Grand Slam show is going to be absolutely huge. Of course, I'm attending the show beforehand, and I know I'm saying that multiple times, but I'm just excited to attend Dynamite, man. I've been waiting for this for over a freaking year, man. I attended WrestleMania this year. That was great, but I'm really excited to go to Dynamite. But we got a segment with CM Punk. Of course, he wrestled in his first match in 7 years with Darby Allin, which was a really good match. CM Punk looked great. Darby Allin looked absolutely great. Of course, the spots that Darby Allin was taking. Darby Allin is fucking crazy. CM Punk, again, really good in the match. Really good match. The crowd was on fire for that match, of course, because it was CM Punk in his hometown of Chicago. I was about to say home state. No, that's Illinois. But in his hometown of Chicago. But this was a really good segment. Says he wants to thank Darby Allin and Sting and all the fans for, his match against Darby Allin at All Out. Says the experience was like riding a bicycle. And then the fans chant for the second time on this show, "You Still Got It." They were extremely loud, by the way. And then says that he will watch the match as a fan of. He will watch the match of Jon Moxley and Minoru Suzuki as a fan. He proceeds to put over Brian Pillman Jr.'s family, I should say, and of course the woman who raised him, Linda, who are sitting in the front row, which was awesome to see. If you guys didn't watch the Dark Side of the Ring documentary on Brian Pillman, I highly suggest you check it out. It's really good. I'm really excited for the second half of Season 3, by the way. I'm really, speaking of Dark Side of the Ring, I'm really excited to see the second half of Season 3. I've wanted to see the Collision in Korea show, which I did watch, which was really good. But I'm really excited to see the plane ride from hell because, that's one of the most famous stories in WWE history, the plane ride from hell. Not only that, XPW, which is another one, XPW, which I'm really interested in because, ECW and XPW had that kind of heat. But that's Dark Side of the Ring for you. But, those two primarily, I'm really excited to see those shows. But of course, CM Punk talks about how he saw the Dark Side of the Ring documentary and all that stuff. And then talks about all the names that showed up. And it says the first person he texted was his wife, April, a.k.a. AJ Lee. Then he asks, "What's next?" Well, she asks. He said, "What's next?" And then he says, "I don't know." And he asks the crowd, "What's next for CM Punk?" And see, these people are saying any name. He's literally saying any name. Could it be Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, all these people? And I guarantee you, bro, AEW's roster right now is absolutely stacked. And, everybody wants to see a match with Bryan Danielson and CM Punk. And I definitely want to see that match because we never really got that match in the WWE. Another match I really want to see, and most likely AEW is definitely going to be booking this match for a future date, is Kenny Omega versus CM Punk. Bro, if we don't get that match, I'm going to be absolutely disappointed. We have to get that match, man. I want AEW, if you're watching this video, most likely not, book CM Punk versus Kenny Omega. I want to see that damn match. CM Punk versus Adam Cole. Bro. CM Punk versus Adam Cole. GTS, Panama Sunrise, Last Shot, Anaconda Vice. All those moves happening in that match, bro. I want to see that match. But the possibilities are endless. The possibilities are endless, guys. But the possibilities are endless. And when it comes to CM Punk matches, I mean, like, this guy can work any good match with anybody. You know, Danielson, Cole, Omega. I mean, like, dude. Jungle Boy, another one. Jungle Boy. A lot of people were saying, you know, his next match is going to be against Jungle Boy, which I would love to see, by the way. You know, Jungle Boy is really good at what he does. But, after that, so when CM Punk was stating all of these different names, you know, Taz was like, don't name anybody from Team. Because, by the way, Excalibur is not on commentary on this show because of some personal things he's doing right now. I think some people were telling me that, not telling me, but I saw on Twitter that Excalibur is apparently getting married, which, if that is the case, congratulations to Excalibur. But Excalibur is not on the show. Taz is on commentary for the entirety of the show. So while CM Punk was stating those names, Taz was on commentary just yelling, "Don't say anybody from Team Taz." And then he proceeds to grab the mic. And then he says, you know, CM Punk says he knows him for a long time. Well, actually, no. Taz says he knows Punk for a long time, and he's tired of this love fest bullshit. Of course, Taz and CM Punk, they don't really have a certain history, but of course, CM Punk started out his WWE main roster career on the ECW brand, and Taz was the guy on commentary. I know it's a little bit, that really doesn't matter, but I just want to get that out there. So, like, these guys, technically, if you would say have history, I'm just you know, making stuff up. Well, no, I'm not really making stuff up because, yeah, they were on the same brand together. But, you know, I don't think they had, like, a legit, like, you know, relationship or anything. But, you know, he says he knows him for a long time, and he's tired of this love fest bullshit. Says he better not mention any member of Team Taz. And then all of a sudden, Hook and Powerhouse Hobbs show up and ask Taz to send Starks, Hook, and Hobbs, and says bring all four of them. And then CM Punk says his catchphrase, survive if he lets them. So right there, I mean, you know, definitely the next match with Punk is definitely going to be with members of Team Taz. A lot of people are saying it's most likely going to be a one-on-one match with Ricky Starks. A lot of people are saying it's going to be a handicap match or a 6-man with the members of Team, or an 8-man with Punk and other people, and of course the members of Team Taz. But I definitely want to see a singles match with Ricky Starks. Of course, he is the current FTW champion. I would love to see a match with CM Punk and Ricky Starks. I mean, like, if you watch the match with Brian Cage and Ricky Starks a couple months ago on Dynamite, and you saw the pop that Ricky Starks got when he hit that spear and actually pinned Brian Cage, I mean, I believe these guys are still feuding, by the way. And that's another, I mean, I will say this. One gripe I have with Dynamite every week is that they cram too much stuff on the show. Nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying, like, they air just really small video packages, and it just goes away real quick. Like, you know, I understand that their roster is stacked, but, like, you know, you can't just put everybody on the show. I understand you're trying to do that, but, like, you know, you're just putting too much stuff for the viewer to, like, grasp, and that's one of my major or minor gripes with the show. It's just a gripe with the show, you know. This show is the best wrestling show, period, of the week. Every week, in my opinion. But that's what I'm just saying. You know, like, AEW does this all the time by cramming a lot of stuff on the show, and it really does not make it as important as they're trying to make it out to be. You know, that's the case with Ricky Starks and Brian Cage. You know, we see these small video packages for the past, like, 2 or 3 weeks of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, and that's the only program that they have on the show. You know, and you know, stuff like that, you know, you need to fix. But hopefully they get it through. You know, that's why you got Rampage, so maybe you can book that match for maybe a special episode of Rampage. Who knows? Or maybe you're probably building to Full Gear. We do not know, but I'm just far-fetching right here. But Yeah, most likely CM Punk is going to be wrestling the members of Team Taz. When, I do not know, but it's probably going to be at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. We'll probably get like a 6-man or an 8-man tag involving CM Punk and Team Taz, or we're probably going to be getting a one-on-one match with Punk and Ricky Starks, which I definitely want to watch a one-on-one match with Punk and Ricky Starks. We get a video package back from commercial break of Santana and Ortiz, of course, talking about FTR, all that stuff. Again, those guys have really good chemistry in the ring. But I do believe the feud is over, and they're going to be moving on to the tag team titles. Then we get a backstage interview with Ruby Soho, of course, the winner of the Women's Casino Battle Royale this past Sunday at All Out. She talks about her win, and, Tony Schiavone is interviewing her, by the way, and Britt comes in and says she knows her for a long time. And Ruby Soho basically stated that, yeah, I helped you get your first break in the industry. And then, Britt Baker then tells her that it's her block. And Britt says that she talks about the runaway Ruby was. She talks about, how Ruby was in catering for the last 4 years. So, yeah, that is crazy. That's a little shot to WWE right there, which is funny as hell. But then when Britt leaves, Ruby tells Tony Schiavone that she knows that he is his girl and she's going to whoop her ass. That was the funniest shit ever. And Tony Schiavone, when it comes to Britt Baker, I mean, this ain't over for the rest of the show. Because if you guys watch the Adam Cole segment in the end of the show, I mean, Adam Cole went straight at Tony Schiavone. Like, if you guys didn't watch that, like, he went straight. I'll talk about that later on, but, like, he went straight to Tony Schiavone. But we got Will Hobbs versus Dante Martin. This is a really good match. I thought this was a pretty good match. Dante Martin, as always, of course, one half of Top Flight, but Darius Martin is out with an injury. Hopefully he recovers. He's been out for a while, but I just want to get that out there. So once Darius Martin comes back, Top Flight is going to be amazing and possibly in contention for the AEW tag titles, which I really want to see, a lot of matches with Top Flight. Top Flight versus the Lucha Bros would be an amazing match, bro. I want to see that match. Top Flight and the Lucha Bros, sign me up. Please, sign me up. Once Darius Martin comes back, that's like the first match you book. But, whatever. The match was pretty good. I mean, Will Hobbs, of course, they're demonstrating the power that Will Hobbs has. Dante Martin looks great as well. Hobbs instantly takes out Martin, like, right in the beginning. We get a kick by Martin, a couple right hands by Martin. Then we get a springboard crossbody, but Hobbs catches Martin. Then we get a drop kick by Martin on the outside. Martin then tries to hit a suicide dive, but Hobbs catches him and throws him headfirst to the ring post, which looked absolutely brutal, by the way. He proceeds to continue to work on Martin, sends Martin to the guardrail, and then sends him to the guardrail once again. During the break, Hobbs works on Martin. Once we're back from break, we get a takedown by Martin, and then we get a stomp by Hobbs. Then we get a stomp from the knee of Hobbs on Dante Martin. We get repeated rights by Hobbs, and then Hobbs proceeds to miss a knee. Martin fights back. He goes to the top. Martin hits a shotgun drop kick. Then after that, we get a cover and a near fall. We get a running pump kick to Hobbs and sends him to the outside. It looks like he was going to hit a suicide dive, but then Hook proceeds to distract him. But then Martin hits a running somersault over the top. We get an enziguri by Dante as well. Then he misses a springboard moonsault after that. Martin hits a pump kick, but Hobbs catches him with a spine buster. And then we get a cover, and Hobbs wins the match. Overall thoughts of this match, I thought this was a pretty good match. I believe it was a spine buster or a powerbomb, correct me if I'm wrong. That looked like a spine buster to me, but I heard on commentary, I think that the commentator said it was a powerbomb. That looked like a spine buster to me, but whatever. I think I got my notes mixed up there, but correct me if I'm wrong if I got that wrong. I literally saw this show 2 days ago. I tend to not rewatch the shows because I'm extremely busy, but correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But this is a pretty good match, of course. Again, I really, once Darius Martin comes back, I really want to see Top Flight on a roll because Top Flight was one of those tag teams during the pandemic that were really flourishing once they made their debut. Top Flight, from first glance, I was like, bruh, these guys are amazing and they're future tag team champions. I mean, they're rookies, but they're future tag team champions and they're really going to do great, in my opinion. We get Dan Lambert on the skyboxes with Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page. Of course, this is a trend. This started, of course, a couple months ago, starting on AEW's first show back on the road at Road Rager when, they brought in Dan Lambert. And what happened? Lance Archer proceeded to go for the attack. He continues to run down AEW, and this is the second time. Of course, we saw him on the skyboxes for the first time. I believe it was at All Out. We didn't see him. We saw him in backstage segments in recent weeks, but they're starting to put Dan Lambert and Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky on the skyboxes, which I will say, I remember a couple months ago in my Dynamite reviews, I've stated that I was not really invested when it came to Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. That's just my opinion. I felt like those two guys were just put together for the sake of being put together. Kind of like what WWE does, and trust me, WWE would do something like that and really have no backstory whatsoever. But the inclusion of Dan Lambert, I will say, it's really making this interesting for me. I think, we need more of this type of stuff in AEW. I like the fact that Dan Lambert is basically saying a lot of the things that AEW haters would say on the internet on television. That's what I like about that. And, Dan Lambert, of course, is a really good promo, and the guy is really good at what he does. And sometimes I will admit, sometimes he can speak truth. I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes, I support AEW through and through, by the way. And like the inclusion of Dan Lambert is really good. We need more people like that in wrestling, in AEW especially, because, in my opinion, like Dan Lambert is just really good to listen to. Like, yes, he can piss you off sometimes, but like I will admit, like he can Dan Lambert's just great at what he does, and I love the fact that they're doing this whole MMA crossover. Now, granted, I do not watch MMA, but I love the fact that they're like including some MMA type of crossover in a way. So if you watch MMA and watch wrestling at the same time, which is it's okay to do, by the way. As someone that I don't watch MMA, but like it's okay to like both. A lot of people like prefer one thing over the other, kind of like with WWE and AEW, which just watch both. But I like the fact that, they're including Dan Lambert on these segments. He's just phenomenal at what he does, in my opinion. All right, we got an MJF segment, of course. MJF lost to Chris Jericho in, I don't want to say weird fashion, but, the AEW referees, I will admit, the way every AEW portrays their referees, sometimes the referees are really stupid. I'm not going to lie. Nothing personal against them. I'm just saying, I don't know if that's a work or a shoot. Most likely it's probably going to be a work, but, I don't know, man. The referees in AEW are just kind of dumb sometimes, in my opinion. They either would make late counts or, Aubrey. Now, granted, I feel like the whole thing with Aubrey Edwards and, the match being restarted was intentional. But, we see this in matches all the time with AEW in which the referees are just completely dumb. But, we hear from MJF, and I thought this was, aside from the Elite segment, this was like the second best segment of the night. MJF is great, of course, at what he does. This guy is guaranteed to be the world champion by next year. Hangman is the guy to take the belt away from Kenny Omega. We all know that. When they will book that match with Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page, who knows? A lot of people are saying Full Gear. A lot of people are saying Revolution, which I wouldn't mind seeing the title change at Revolution. Some people are saying maybe on an episode of Dynamite. A lot of people are advocating for that match to happen at Grand Slam, but of course that's not going to happen because of the fact that the show is 2 weeks away. And if they were going to build to an Adam Page versus Kenny Omega match at the Grand Slam Arthur Ashe Stadium show, I would assume that they would build for that match at least 4 weeks prior. You know what I mean? But, this match there's a lot of long-term storytelling when it comes to a Hangman Adam Page. And MJF, once Hangman Page does win the AEW title, he's probably going to have a lengthy title run, but, MJF is the guy to take the belt off of Hangman Adam Page once he eventually gets the belt. And then who knows what can happen. We could lead to, after MJF, who else is going to be? Because, their main event scene right now is stacked. The roster additions that they added, guys like Adam Cole, the possibilities are endless when it comes to this type of stuff. And, I'm really excited to see what happens. Adam Cole 100% is destined to be the world champion. Thank the Lord that this guy left the WWE, because there was a report that came out that if Adam Cole was going to go to the main roster, you know what the main roster pitched him? to be a freaking manager. Yes, a manager to Keith Lee. And they were most likely probably going to change his name. Like, are you kidding me right now? These people are so stupid. Thank God that he actually left, because of the fact that, like, you know, like, what? I mean, the main roster, I mean, it's just pure stupidity. And, like, you watch Raw, and I've stated this on my Raw reviews, like, there's no reason for me to watch Raw on a weekly basis. There just isn't. Because of the fact that, like, the show is just awful. Like, SmackDown, I will, like, give and accept. Like, I give SmackDown a pass because of Roman Reigns and, you know, the fact that they got a star-studded roster. I mean, like, SmackDown has all the stars and Raw does not. I'm being straight up. Raw does not have all of the stars. And, you know, I'm just being honest, man. Like, what is the point of a brand split when it comes to these people? But, I mean, like, Raw as a show is garbage. You get the same matches every week. Ridiculous gimmicks. And, you know, every wrestling show does a dumb gimmick. Even AEW. I'm going to be honest. Like, everybody criticized the Dark Order, you know, when AEW first started. And I was one of them. I was like, what the hell is this gimmick? But then they started to become freaking awesome. You know, there was a lot of stupid stuff that AEW does. And I will admit, like, I'll call them out for it, bro. Like, they've done some really, really stupid stuff. Like, the Revolution botch was completely on them. Like, that was a dumbass. Now, granted, they acknowledged it. Thank God they acknowledged it. At least they acknowledged that they messed up. But be honest, bro. That was a really, really bad botch. Really bad. And that absolutely sucked. But, I mean, like, you know, WWE, the reason why a lot of fans call out WWE more than AEW is because of the fact that they know the AEW product is better than the WWE. It's just cold-hearted fact. Like, I guarantee you, I will ask anybody that's a wrestling fan, what show do you enjoy the most now, Dynamite or Raw? They will most likely answer Dynamite because of the fact that the show is new and fresh. You know what I'm saying? But MJF, I mean, back to the MJF segment, so because I'm going a little bit off topic here. But, so of course, MJF looks pissed off about what happened in the Jericho match. He complains like a typical heel would do, because he's a heel. He says prior to Sunday, he beat Chris Jericho 3 times. And that Sunday, he beat him for a 4th time. He beat him in the middle of the ring and says that the match restarted because there was bias against him. That's your typical heel promo right there. He says everybody wants to be him behind his back. In the back, I should say. And the people in the back wants to be MJF. And says he means every word he says, and he says that Cincinnati is a dumpster fire. Damn, what a way to shit on the fans in Cincinnati, bro. Every person that lives there is mid. So he goes there and says, how about you jump the guardrail and he will beat them up. And then he proceeds to talk about Linda and Brian Pillman Jr.'s family, of course, who is in the guardrail. And you know he's going to get that nuclear hit because MJF all the fucking time goes too far when it comes to things. But that's MJF's character. That is MJF's character. He's a heel. Of course he's going to do stuff like that. He's doing his job. You're supposed to hate him. So he talks a lot of shit on the family. Brian Pillman Jr. comes out after that and says where he is from, this is a city that breeds badasses. Badasses like his father, Brian Pillman, and badasses like Jon Moxley. MJF then talks about his mother, his mother, and, I don't know if I should say this on this video, on this review, but, I mean, the shit that MJF says, goes a little too far. Again, he is a heel, so he really doesn't mean it. He's in character. But, holy shit, they actually managed to put that on television. That is insane. And, bruh. It goes to show you about MJF's character, man. They went there. And I don't know if I have it in my notes right here. I wrote them down, but, I don't know if I should say them, He talks about his drug-addicted mother and says that it's a shame that she could have birthed around 500 second-generation wrestlers, but unfortunately for him, she forgot to do to him what she did to all the other prospects, and that is swallow. That is insane, but he goes deeper. He literally goes deeper, and, Wardlow tries to basically, as soon as MJF mentions that, when he mentions about his mother, Brian Pillman goes to the ring, and Wardlow is literally like standing right in front of him. And that's when MJF basically said what he said, what I just stated earlier. But then all of a sudden MJF is like, oh, Wardlow, you're going to help me like you did on Sunday? And like, yo, like there's probably going to be some tension when it comes to Wardlow and MJF. Who knows what can happen? I mean, what do I think is going to be going on? I do not know. There's probably a story that is going to be playing out maybe in the next few months when it comes to Wardlow. Who knows? But that's just my assumption. But then, both Brian Pillman. So after MJF tells Wardlow to, move off, just back off. And then MJF and Brian Pillman face off. And this is where shit got real. Like, shit got real in this segment. He says that, MJF says that, and, like, literally, this is where he says the most fucked up thing, bro. He says if he does not leave this ring, he's going to do what his mother should have done 28 years ago. And then he says he is going to abort, and right after he says that, Pillman goes for the attack. Like, that is extremely messed up, especially, like, it's MJF, so he doesn't give a shit. I mean, he is a heel, of course, but, like, damn, bro, that is extremely messed up. Like, that is crazy. Like I stated earlier, like, I don't know if I should say this or not, but, like, that's what MJF stated in the segment. Like, that was way too far. But, I mean, whatever. I mean, that's just crazy. But MJF is a heel, so, I mean, I don't know, and it kind of does play into the story of the story that AEW is telling, and I'm really excited to see the match between Brian Pillman Jr. and MJF. I think they're going to be fighting at Arthur Ashe Stadium September 22nd. That's in 2 weeks, so that's going to be awesome to see. I'm really excited for the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. It's going to be by far AEW's biggest show. It's going to be the equivalent, and yes, I'm going to say this, AEW's WCW's Georgia Dome shows. Nitro shows at the Georgia Dome. I'm just going to be straight up. I know that's kind of far-fetching right there, but like I'm going to be straight up. That's what it kind of feels like. You know what I mean? But then Pillman goes after MJF. Both proceed to brawl, but MJF takes Pillman out. Griff Garrison tries to come for the save, but MJF and Wardlow take him out, and then they proceed to leave. So, yeah, we're going to be getting that match at Arthur Ashe Stadium on Dynamite Grand Slam in 2 weeks, so that's going to be awesome to see. And, the segment was insane. This was, like, by far, like, the second best segment. Because, like, this is how a wrestling feud should be. Like, this is how, like, a wrestling feud like this, bruh, like, shit went down on this segment. And, like, that is insane. But we got Jamie Hayder versus Ruby Soho in Ruby Soho's first Dynamite match. Again, this was a really, really good match in my opinion. Ruby Soho looked great. Jamie Hayder, of course, looked great. I'm really excited to see the match with Ruby Soho and Dr. Britt Baker D.M.D. for the Women's Championship. Most likely that match is going to be booked for the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. I mean, AEW is absolutely stacking that Arthur Ashe Stadium show to be by far their biggest Dynamite ever. Period. Like, and I'm, like, the show is going to be extremely awesome. I'm excited. And by the way, that's a Joker painting that I'm doing. Oh, no, my bad. I kind of botched that layout. I'm using OBS. My apologies. But that's a Joker layout right there. Not a Joker painting that I'm doing. So if that kind of creeps you out, my apologies. I'm working on a Joker painting. It's like only the first layer. I barely even finished it. So it's going to be there for the next couple of videos, probably for the next couple of weeks, because I'm using oil paint, and oil paint is it takes extremely long to dry out. But enough about me talking about that. Let's go ahead with the Jamie Hayder and Ruby Soho match. Of course, we get some Ruby Soho chants. Both proceed to lock up. We get a slap by Jamie Hayder. We get a waist lock by Ruby. Then we get a switch by Hayder. Then Hayder hits a shoulder tackle. We get an overhook by Ruby, and then we get a couple of forearm shots by Ruby. Then Ruby hits a knee, but then she gets taken to the top rope, and then gets taken down to the bottom rope. Then Hayder works on Ruby during the break. Once we're back from commercial break, we get a couple of elbows by Ruby Soho. We get a double knees by Ruby and sends Hayder to the middle turnbuckle. We get a running kick by Ruby in the corner, and then another kick by Ruby. And then we get a third kick, and then we get a swinging DDT by Ruby Soho. Then Hayder takes Ruby up, but Ruby counters into a faceplant to the mat. Then we get a cover by Ruby and a near fall. Hayder hits a backbreaker, and then a sliding elbow. We get a cover by Hayder on Ruby Soho, but we get a near fall. Then after that, we got a drop kick by Ruby on Hayder. Then we got a cover, and Ruby Soho wins the match. Overall thoughts on this match: this was a pretty short match, but it was a really good match in my opinion. Ruby Soho looked great. I'm really excited. I stated this in my All Out review. Ruby Soho is going to get a huge reaction in New Jersey this Wednesday on Dynamite. I guarantee that she's going to get a huge reaction. Like, she's going to get a huge pop. I will say that. And what match she's going to wrestle for, I do not know. Who she's going to wrestle, who knows? But, I'm just excited to see what goes down when it comes to this week's Dynamite, because I'm going to be attending the show. I'm excited. And again, I'm going to say this again. Most likely, I'm going to be uploading a vlog. I do not know about it. I'm going to see whether I can basically vlog a video or not. But I'm going to be most likely uploading a vlog. I'll let you guys know in the channel later on. But after the match, Ruby proceeds to hug the referee, which is actually pretty cool. But then Britt Baker and Rebel attack Ruby Soho. And then Riho comes in for the save. But Hayder and Britt Baker and Rebel get the advantage once again. Britt Baker then was going to curve stomp Ruby Soho using, of course, the belt. But Chris Statlander comes in with the chair to make the save. So, again, Chris Statlander comes to make the save. I do believe that Britt Baker versus Ruby Soho is going to be one of the best women's matches of the year, in my opinion. From what we've seen when it comes to Britt Baker matches, her match with Hikaru Shida at Double or Nothing was really awesome. I loved that match. They tore the house down at Daly's Place in that match. Not only that, I really loved the match that Britt Baker had. Of course, the Lights Out match, aka the non-sanctioned match that they had at that St. Patrick's. I've stated this multiple times. That St. Patrick's Day Lights Out match between Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker. Amazing ass match, and I cannot wait to see Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa again. It's going to be awesome, but right now we're going to be focusing on Ruby Soho and Britt Baker. Those two women are going to tear the house down. That's my opinion. We got a video package of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, of course. This was the only video package that we had of Brian Cage and Ricky Starks. Again, they need to put more focus on that, because I feel like a lot of people do not really care anymore, because there's only one video package of this match every week on Dynamite, and it's a really short video package. But I think the match is going to be great. If you guys saw the match that they had on Dynamite a couple months ago, where Ricky Starks won the FTW title, that was an awesome-ass match. Watch it. It's a really, really good match. But we get FTR, of course, and Shawn Spears, the Pinnacle, versus Stu Grayson, Evil Uno, and John Silver. We haven't heard the Pinnacle music in such a long time, because we had MJF feuding with Chris Jericho for that majority of the time, but great to see the Pinnacle music go on once again. Of course, there is some tension within the Dark Order, and there's a lot of problems going on with the Dark Order. No sign of Hangman whatsoever. Of course, they're teasing a breakup within the Dark Order, and we've seen in recent segments on this show that Anna Jay is actually in the middle of all this and basically wants it to stop. But we'll talk about the tension later on after the match. John Silver and Shawn Spears start. Both lock up. We get a side headlock by Spears, and then we get a shoulder tackle by Spears. Spears then proceeds to stall John Silver after that. And then after stalling Shawn Spears, we get Silver hits a body slam. Then we get a takedown by Spears. He proceeds to tag Stu Grayson. Grayson works on Spears but fights back. Then Cash Wheeler tags in and then works on Grayson. And then we get an enziguri by Grayson. Then we get a double team attempt by Uno on Grayson. Then Uno is the one that is legal after that. Silver proceeds to tag in. And then what happens after that is we get a double team attempt by Uno and Silver. Then we get a cover by Silver on Spears. We get a near fall. Dax Harwood proceeds to tag in, works on Silver. Then we get a cover twice by Harwood. Harwood sends Silver to the corner. Then Silver hits a brain buster after that. Spears goes after both Uno and Grayson. Silver is surrounded by the Pinnacle after that. Silver then hits a German suplex on FTR. We get a cover into a near fall. But then Harwood proceeds to hit the slingshot suplex. Then we get a tag by Spears and then a triple team by Spears. Spears then hits the Death Valley driver and we get a cover, and the Pinnacle beat the Dark Order. Overall thoughts on this match. Again, this was a pretty good six-man tag. But, we've seen in recent weeks that, there's a lot of tension going on within the Dark Order. Where's this going to lead to? I do not know. A lot of people are saying it's going to be a potential breakup. Maybe it's going to lead to Hangman to come back. Who knows what can happen, but we're going to have to just wait and see. We get a backstage interview with Tully Blanchard and says that when he left the ring, he saw 3 stars demolished the other team. Then he says he watched leadership and then proceeds to talk about Sting. Says he's going to put an end to Darby Allin and says next week it's going to be Darby Allin versus Shawn Spears in New Jersey. So that's going to be an awesome match. I'm excited to see that. And then he basically gives you a little teaser of, hey, Sting, see you as well. So who knows what can happen? Are they going to do Tully Blanchard versus Sting? I mean, I don't know, but yeah, it is what it is. But like, you know, he did tease that in the segment. We get the Varsity Blondes backstage and says that Brian Pillman will face MJF at the Arthur Ashe Stadium show. Max Caster comes in and says that him and Brian will fight this Friday on Rampage. Yes, Max Caster. Max Caster's finally back, guys. That's going to be awesome. We're going to see his raps again. If you guys didn't watch that rap on Dark, I mean, like, it was really fun. I mean, I don't watch Dark, but I saw that clip with Max Caster coming back, and he's like, oh, I got a script from AEW. So that was actually really funny, but it's great to see Max Caster back. Tony Schiavone interviews the Elite. Of course, Don Callis. Don Callis talks about, and he rubs it in, of course, Kenny Omega being number 1 once again on the top of the PWI 500. Of course, Kenny Omega is number 1 on the PWI 500. A lot of people were outraged about that, and I do not know why. Kenny Omega is by far the best wrestler in the world today. Like, Roman Reigns was number 2, and Roman Reigns is doing amazing right now. But, like, honestly, I wouldn't mind. I wouldn't care if Roman Reigns was number 1 or Kenny Omega was number 1. At least Roman Reigns was not number 3. At least he was number 2. At least, like, you know, if Roman Reigns was number 1, I wouldn't be angry. If Kenny Omega, which he was number 1, I wasn't pissed either. Like, I don't know why people are outraged so much, but it is what it is. But yeah, he talks about the match with Christian Cage at All Out, and then he says the Elite. You know, then the Elite talk about, you know, what happened at All Out and all that stuff. And what happens? They bring out Adam Cole, baby. Adam Cole's first appearance on Dynamite since making his debut this past Sunday at All Out. Adam Cole says, who's ready for story time? Before that, Adam faces off with Tony Schiavone, and he literally, I swear to God, he threatens Tony Schiavone, and he says, if you look at Britt the wrong way, I'm going to knock your teeth down your throat. Holy shit. That was, like, he legit dead-ass threatened Tony Schiavone. That was the funniest shit ever. But then he cuts a promo. He says, All Elite Wrestling, the best wrestling company in the world. He says, the reason why that is because of the Elite. And says for 14 years, he was the main event. He is a once-in-a-generation pro wrestler. He proceeds to put over the Elite and says that we should be thanking the Elite because the Elite is complete, baby. Then, after that, he says, wait till next week when he will make his in-ring debut. Yes, he's making his in-ring debut in New Jersey on Dynamite. I'm excited. Kenny Omega says that he despises interruptions. And then what happens? We hear Bryan Danielson's music. And by the way, I love Bryan Danielson's new theme. Unfortunately, they couldn't use Final Countdown. But honestly, like, I don't even want to know the price on just using Final Countdown. I assume that song is going to be extremely expensive if they wanted to use it. But I will say, though, I loved Bryan Danielson's new theme song. It's really good. But Bryan Danielson comes out and then says that he was the guy to speak with. And then Bryan takes the mic. He just snatches the mic away from Omega. And he asks the crowd if we want to see Bryan Danielson versus Kenny Omega. Count me in, bro. I'm excited to see that. Says he thinks he is afraid of him and that he would beat him. And says Omega is not on his level. And then he basically, after that, both proceed to brawl. And then Bryan applies the yes lock on Omega. And you know what happens? The Elite proceed to attack Bryan Danielson. And what happens? Jurassic Express and Christian Cage. And then the Elite Hunter, Kazarian, come in to make the save. And then all of a sudden, what happens? All of those guys surround Brandon Cutler. And the Elite, just retreats. And then Brandon Cutler gets hit with the yes kick. by Bryan Danielson. So that was awesome to see as well. Great segment. I believe this was the highest rated segment of the show. Goes to show you Bryan Danielson's a draw, and the audience is growing for AEW. And, if Bryan Danielson's first match in AEW is going to be against Kenny Omega, book that match for Grand Slam, bro. Book it for Grand Slam, bro. Like, book it in 2 weeks for Arthur Ashe, because, like, that match will be amazing. Like, bro, I guarantee that match will go, like, at least 4 commercial breaks, because that match would be bonkers. But we got the main event, which happened extremely late. We had Minoru Suzuki, who I did not know when he came out who he was, I'm going to be honest. But I did a couple of research on him, and unfortunately we got no Kase ni Nare, which is the catchphrase that the crowd sings while his theme song is going on. So we got none of that, so that sucks. Which I actually really liked the reaction of the crowd when they did that. So I looked it up. I was like, "What is that? Kase ni Nare?" And I'm like, "Bro, if he shows up at the Prudential Center show, I'm gonna scream that, because I actually dig his theme song." This is the first time I saw Minoru Suzuki. I didn't know who he was, but that's the beauty of the Forbidden Door. But the match was not that long. It was really short. But the crowd was really amped up for this match. And of course, Jon Moxley, he had a hometown reception from the crowd, so that was really good to see. But Suzuki hits the first shot. Both exchange shots. We get a couple of forearm shots by each wrestler. We get a pump kick by Moxley. Suzuki with a couple of shots and slaps. We get a couple of forearm shots by Moxley. Then we get a couple of chops by Moxley. We get a running boot by Suzuki in the corner. Moxley blocks a kick by Suzuki. Moxley then bites the face of Suzuki, my apologies. And then Suzuki proceeds to fight back. We get a headbutt by Moxley, and then a headbutt by Suzuki. Then we get a headbutt battle going on, so both Suzuki and Moxley are exchanging headbutts. Then both exchange shots after that. Moxley fights back. Suzuki applies the sleeper hold on Moxley. Suzuki takes down, but Suzuki takes Moxley down, but Moxley comes back up and hits the paradigm shift, or the Death Rider, whatever you want to call it. Then Suzuki stands up. Then we get a cover and a 1 count. Yes, a cover and a 1 count. We got a 1 count. Then Suzuki is busted open at this point. Suzuki is no-selling Moxley's moves, of course, which is awesome, by the way. It's no means a bad thing when it comes to Suzuki. And, that's just me, because that's how he always is, apparently. But we get a drop kick by Suzuki. Suzuki then tries to apply the sleeper hold. Moxley escapes. Moxley with the right hand. Moxley hits the paradigm shift. Cover. 1, 2, 3. Moxley beats Minoru Suzuki in his hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. Overall thoughts on this match. This was a really short match. It was great to see Minoru Suzuki on television. Now, granted, I did not know who Minoru Suzuki was. I'm going to be honest with you here. I'm going to be real with you. I did not know who Minoru Suzuki was because, again, I'm not really that big of a New Japan Pro Wrestling watcher. I'm really not. I do not watch a lot of New Japan Pro Wrestling. I know a couple of the talent there, of course. Your Will Ospreays, your Okadas, your Tetsuya Naitos, your Kota Ibushi's, your Evils. Those guys, you're basically your main eventers. But I don't watch the product a lot. But hey, again, I stated this in my All Out review. That is the beauty of the Forbidden Door. So that was great to see. Of course, after that, Jon Moxley got a really good reception from the crowd. So really awesome to see. But that was Dynamite. Overall thoughts on Dynamite. I thought this was a pretty good show. There's a couple things that were kind of with me, but overall, I thought the show was really good. The interaction with MJF and Brian Pillman Jr. was great. Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega, they teased a match, which most likely that match has to happen at either Arthur Ashe or maybe a pay-per-view. I assume it's going to be Arthur Ashe, but, the next 2 weeks for AEW is going to be huge. I'm going to be attending the Prudential Center show. That's going to be awesome to see. And, of course, we got the biggest Dynamite ever. We got Dynamite Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium in New York. So that's going to be a great show. I'm not going to attend that show, but I'm going to watch it on television. But I'm going to be attending the Prudential Center show this coming Wednesday. That's going to be amazing to see. I'm excited. AEW is 100% on a roll, and this is just awesome to see, man. But yeah, that was my AEW Dynamite review. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications. Follow me on social media on Instagram and Twitter. Be on the lookout for my future reviews, of course, my SmackDown and Rampage reviews. I'm most likely going to be uploading a vlog maybe near the end of next week. I do not know, but I will see that if I'm going to do that. But yeah, This is Broken Havoc. Be on the lookout for those videos, and this is Broken Havoc from the Broken Havoc podcast. Signing out.